Rob Tebbutt here for Boxing News. Delighted, as always, to be joined by the one and only Grant Smith. We're here in the Steel City Gym in Sheffield the morning after the night before. Grant, always look forward to these. How are you?
Very well, thank you. I always gear your interviews, the one and onlys, don't I? So, no sleep last night. You're dragging me up early, down to the gym to get your content, mate.
It's much appreciated. As you mentioned there, I get one a year, I think. And so I have to make the most of them when the opportunity rolls around. But no, thanks very much for making time for us to come down to the gym after what was a busy night for yourself and the Steel City Gym. We're going to start off at the top, work our way down. A successful evening for your son Dalton, who won the British title outright with a sensational stoppage win over Sam Maxwell in the 7th round. Happy, Grant?
Words can't come into it. Honestly, words can't come into it. Proud I am, pleased I am. Everything over the years and years of what's gone off, with all the work he's put into it and sacrifices, just words can't express what it means to me.
That's something that I said to Dalton yesterday. It kind of seems like in the modern age of prospects and everyone wants to become a world champion after 5 fights and everyone wants to get on with it. And, you and Dalton and the team have always been very kind of, matter of fact about how you want to do it. You want to do it the traditional way. You go, British, and he's spoken already about doing the European. Of course, picked up the Commonwealth last night. Why has that been so important to not only yourself and Dalton, but your dad as well, Brian, and the family to go about it the traditional way? And now you've done it, it must feel so proud to do it.
Proud, yeah. Traditional way. I don't think many do it that way now. That used to be the norm, but there's that many titles out there now, and there's a lot of good fighters in this country, which there always has been anyway. But Dalton's division especially, I'm not just saying it 'cause I think it's the best stacked division in the country, if not the world. And a lot of fighters seem to skip the way around things to avoid fighters. And we've always said the cream always rises to the top. We want to be the best. He wants to do it the old-fashioned way. And just not many people do it. And he wants to be one that brings that tradition, and he can sit back and say, yeah, I boxed the best, who got put in front of me. I've never turned a fight down. The mandatories, whatever, we've just boxed whoever. Like we've proven he's boxed when he boxed Casey on that, we moved. We could have easily said, no, we're not boxing, we'll vacate, we'll move on, we'll step forward. But we didn't. We're prepared to go in other people's backyards and do it the proper way. And I think he can sit back now and he's honoured that he's done it and he'll not have no regrets.
Before we talk about the fight and Dalton's performance in particular, I want to talk to you about the camp and the build-up to it. Obviously, we know that Dalton went over and sparred, did some sparring over in the States, went and trained with Manny Robles for a couple of weeks while he was out there. Always fascinated to see kind of the dynamics of something like that happening whenever a fighter goes and spends some time with another coach. I know you were very, very supportive of it, but how much impact did that make on Dalton's training camp for this? How different was he when he came back?
Massive difference. I've been thinking of it for a while, but I've just not had the breaks in with the fighters and fight dates coming in thick and fast all the time. So it's hard enough getting away for a break myself, so I mind away with a break with a few fighters. And it's a big, big thing to go over there and in the doghouse and take it all in. And there's only certain fighters that can absorb that and hang there with it all, with their fighters. And I'm not just saying it and bigging my fighters. I think my fighters are capable with that. Otherwise, I won't be training them, really. I'm out to succeed. I'm not one of these coaches that thinks I know it all. You've got to pick things up all the way along as a coach. The boxers have got to pick things up, obviously, all the time, and they're always learning. And I believe the coaches have always got to be prepared to learn. I'm always striving to be better at my job as well. I'm never satisfied with myself. I'm always like, pinch a percentage here, pinch a bit. And I'm researching, I'm copying, I'm watching. I'll try things. If I think that could work for my lads, I'll try it. If it done, I bin it. If it does, I take it on board and I drill it with the lads. So I says to Dalton, I think it'd be good to get us, while we've got this break now and a big camp, have a week or so here, get back over, get into America. I rate Manny as a coach. It's a brilliant setup he's got. And let's get over to LA. So, sorted it with Sean, ticked all the boxes. Unfortunately, fight date's coming for my other fighters, so I couldn't go. I'm fine with that. I trust my fighters with other coaches. Spoke to Manny. I totally look after your fighters. I respect that. I'm not one of these fighters that coaches that goes and don't trust the fighters. I can understand that. I've never poached a fighter. I've had plenty of coaches poaching and tickling my fighters up. My fighters come back and tell me straight away. It don't bother me. If that's how they are, that's how they are. But I'm not worried. If a fighter wants to go, they go. That's how I am. So I've got no worries about anything like that. So I trust my fighters going away and learning, picking things up. So Dalton went away. I says, can Junaid jump on? Junaid jumped on. Obviously with Sean O'Toole looking after him out there, organising, making sure everything was good. And they just picked a lot of stuff up over there. I got everything videoed, all the sessions videoed. Manny were feeding me everything back. And Sean. And I thought, yeah, good. A lot of good stuff. They come back. I started putting certain things into camp here with my other fighters while they were still away. See if it'll work. Yeah, some of the stuff were working. So I implemented it here in the gym. We've come back. They were doing it here. They got a bit carried away and started running again, and we just slowed things down and, no, this is how it's got to be done. And yeah. They didn't get back to the norm. They went back to that, adding that as well. And it's all paid off, and it made a big difference. Obviously, I tell everyone, Sonny and Dalton don't spar, how they fight. It's weird. But he come back and we were just chatting before we spars, just little things. And I'm like, wow, this has upped his game, this is up. We've worked on it as well, and it went up about 2 notches. Because I've always find a fighter will climb, he'll plateau out. Even from amateurs, they climb, they get better, then they plateau out for a bit, and then a lot think, oh, it's not, and then they'll climb and get bit again and then plateau out. And that's how boxing is with fighters, good fighters anyway, that are always learning. And I just saw him jump a couple of levels, and I thought, wow, that has paid off. So yeah, it were a good thing.
Did it come at like a good time as well? Because Dalton even said in the ring last night after the win, his last couple of performances, he's attracted criticism, and haven't been the statements that he obviously made last night against Sam Maxwell. Having that kind of change of scenery, bit of a freshen up, come at a good time for him. Obviously, we saw last night it was a great performance, so it was something that's obviously vindicated down the line.
Yeah, I don't think it was just down to that. That were a big part of it as well. The old Mason, he were up for that, obviously. British title, his first headliner in Sheffield. It were a big night for him, and he coped with the nerves. He ticked all the boxes, put a great performance in. Obviously, the Casey, the mandatory, went to purse bids. That happened there. What happened there? No excuses. If you saw how early were, then he said, "No, Dad, trust me. I can beat these guys while I'm ill." So, left it till last minute, took it. I gave Casey forehand, so I thought, right, he's run away with that. Boxed well, composed, had him hurt, didn't want to pull the trigger and blow himself out where I really were. So, I were happy with that. I were well happy with that performance. A lot said below par. Yeah, I know why it were below par. But he still won at a canter. Allington fight, he got up for it, obviously. He trains, anybody that knows Dalton, he trains so hard. Everything's disciplined, even what he does out at camp, his food, everything's disciplined. His training sessions, his runs, everything is disciplined. But I think he just took it for granted at that level. And when he were in the fight, he was just going through the motions. He was just trotting along. Were I partly to blame? I'll hold my hands up. I could have been partly to blame. I could have sat him down on stool after 5, 6 and give him a kick up arse and says, look, just get out there and finish sure. Let's get out, finish it, let's get home. But I didn't. I thought, I just probably were in the same mood as Dalton. He were winning easy at a canter, won every round, dropped him. Good performance at British level. A lot would be well happy with that. A lot know Dalton, so they're wanting that bit extra. So I can understand why the critics were saying what they're saying. But we don't take the negatives out of it. We take the positives out of it. We learn from it. Right. So I took that as a personal thing as well. Yeah, could have been my fault. I could have just given him a kick up arse. Said, right, just go out there and finish him. Put it on him. Let's finish the show. But I didn't. So I was learning as well. I was just probably in the same mentality as he were. So, but it was just too easy for him. So after that, right, that's not going to happen again. If we can finish a show, he's going to do it. Not at a canter. He's going to close it big time. So this one, fire in his belly. Somebody says, keep him away. I'm not going to mention no names. Somebody says, keep him away from Sam Maxwell. Dalton shouldn't go near him. I don't think after them last performances he should box. I turn around to Sean and says, get me that Maxwell fight. I'll show you what Dalton can do. Get me that Maxwell fight. Got done. Last night's history now.
It certainly is. But let's touch upon last night before we move on and talk about the future. Talk to me about his performance. Talk to me about what the game plan was going in, what you were happy with, what you maybe weren't so happy with that you can work on in the gym.
Game plan went perfect. I thought every time we got in close, Sam was holding and trying to wrap Dalton up and move his head into a certain position, trying to wrap. My game plan were just drop down a little bit, start working the body a bit busier on inside. We've been working soon as we're there. Let's get to work straight away. Don't wait. But he weren't allowed to do that last night. So that would have been the icing on the cake if we could have got that off. No fault of Dalton's though. He weren't allowed to do that. The referee were letting him, Sam tie him up a little bit. But that is what it is. But Sam's a good fighter. He hasn't done in the amateurs what he's done. He can punch. But what I picked up on, Sam's good on his feet, stepping in, stepping out. When he's in front of you, he's good when you're in straight lines in front of him. Even if you're stepping back, you're stepping forward. He wants everything in a straight line. He uses his feet as defence as well. Don't move his head much. Uses his feet. So, and then he can stick that good right hand on, right hand left hook, using his feet when he's in front of you in straight lines. Or if you just drift off to your left a little bit, that opens him up to hold his feet and nail you with that smashing right hand he's got. So I thought, I'll just take that away from him. Take all that away from him, practice it during camp, we'll drill it in camp, not make a big deal of it, let him deal with what Dalton's going to do after that. I'll just take out what he's good at, Dalton will don't rest, then he's going to have to deal with it. So we just kept his feet offsetting, and if you noticed, he couldn't punch. And then every time he did, Dalton caught him, and I says to Dalton, let's catch him early. You'll totally knock him off his game plan with your feet. And then if you catch him early, he's going to be wary. He's going to try to out-punch you and outwork. We'll just take all that away from him. And then the first round, he caught him with that combination, and I think he hurt Sam as well there. And then it was just a one-way race after that. And I just said, keep doing what you're doing. He hurt him in the round before finish. And I says, don't panic. Keep doing what you're doing. The knockout's going to come. And I told everybody other day in gym, they were all on about the thoughts. I says, between 5 and 7, Dalton does what he's got to do, performs. 5 and 7, he takes him out. Went perfect.
On Dalton, one of the things I want to talk about before we get onto the stoppage was the cuts, which we saw across his otherwise beautiful face. 2 bad cuts. One particularly bad cut over the right eye. Shout out Jamie Sheldon, cut man in the corner, did a great job. But it was a nasty one. I sat down with Dalton last night after the show, and it looks as though 2 cuts and certainly 1 cut that will keep him out for a period of time. How much did that change things? I mean, again, it kind of never a good thing for a fighter to get cut. I know he's been cut in the past, but a good thing to overcome, albeit not an ideal situation.
Of course, aren't ideal situations. Like, no fault of Sam's, no fault of Dalton's. Dalton were just punching, trying to take his head off the line as Sam were coming in. Sam's not that type of fighter anyway. But the right cut were down to the bone. It is a serious back, and his eyelid were dropping a bit. We just put it back. Credit to Jamie Sheldon, stopped the bleeding because it were quite bad. That's why we have him in the corner. He's a top cutsman for us. And then obviously after that, his old cut opened up with a head clash as well, and that's quite a bad cut. Keeps him out for as long as it keeps him out. It doesn't change anything. He'll have a good rest, recover, and Dalton knows what he wants to achieve, and we just crack on. We don't worry about these things now. He's just had 5 fights in 12 months, 12-round title fights. Not many fighters do that. So he needs a rest anyway, and then he'll still be back in gym, have a good holiday, get back in gym, keep ticking on, get the eyes right, straight back out.
So, the stoppage. I spoke to Dalton last night. I said it reminded me a little bit of the Nathan Bennett stoppage. Sort of caught him high on the head, to the side of the head. Not a bad shot, Grant.
No. He stepped in with it, and he catches him. What I said were, he were moving his feet a little bit too fast in the build-up. As he were trying to set his shots up, he were moving. It was near on perfect, but I just wanted it a slight second, because I realised Dalton were a lot faster, hands and feet, than Sam. So I said, just slow them feet down a little bit and just keep creeping in, and then have the fast burst rather than faster feet. Try to lull him down, so he's moving his feet a little bit slower, and then you'll get it. And each round just went a little bit slower, and then pick the feet up a little bit, then slow it back down. Pick the feet up, slow it down, so you can get there. And that's what's obviously stepped in with it. And I heard the crack, and I thought, wow. But Sam, I wish him all the best. I'm glad he's fine, because I'm not just saying it. He's a lovely lad, Sam. I went in and seen him, me and Dalton after, and his camp and Paul and that, and they are nice people, and you want everybody to go home safe, and well, don't we, in this game?
Absolutely, well said. Final one on Dalton, of course, in boxing. We always, on the Sunday morning, well, not even the Sunday morning, the Saturday night, always talking about what's happening next. Of course, he does have those cuts, so he's not going to be boxing anytime soon, really. But where do we go next? Is it European level? You mentioned the traditional route. Is that the logical next step for Dalton?
Yeah, logical. Obviously, we could go to international, get some higher up in the world rankings. We just go with the flow. Dalton wants the European. He wants to tick all the boxes, and if that's what Dalton wants, that's up to Sean and Eddie to get it in a minute.
Yeah, no pressure. Right, it was, of course, a busy night, not just for Dalton, but for the whole stable. Let's start with Junaid Bostan, who I bumped into this morning, so he's going to be watching this now, so let's be as harsh as we possibly can. But went the distance for the first time. Ryan Amos, tough, durable opponent. Lots to like about the performance from Junaid Bostan. He is still only a pup, as we know, but what did you make of his performance?
Like you said, Junaid's a baby. He's a baby. People don't realise how young he is, and he shouldn't be doing what he's doing at that age. Proud as punch, proud of the kid, doing himself proud. He's reaping the rewards now for all that hard work, and he shouldn't be boxing people, really, with records and at that level, to what for how young he is and the amount of fights he's had. But I thought this will be a good fight, good learning fight. He'll get his rounds in, tough, rugged. Ryan were He'll try to bully Junaid, show Junaid no respect, and I thought that's the type of fight Junaid. So when the fight got offered, I says, yeah, we'll take that fight for Junaid. On paper, a bit early for Junaid, but I thought it'll do his career good to be taking fights like that, and I thought he performed well. Switched off, but I think that's to do with his age as well. So a few more fights like that, start building the rams up, and that'll just come. So I thought he was quite faultless, really. The odd little things, but not much to really pull him up on, really. Like you said, with his age, his record, and who we were in with, and you don't see many other lads like that with the coaches and managers taking them fights. And a few people have mentioned that to me. You're quite a brave coach, Grant, but I believe in my fighters. I see what they're doing in the gym. I see what they're doing in sparring, and I believe in their abilities. And I'm not one to want everything safe and sound. I will roll the dice sometimes, as I've shown with all my fighters. And I think that's how they learn and how they become top class fighters, and when they get to the top, they can stay at the top. So we're not dodging everything like I said with Sonny and Dalton. We go that way, so when they get there, they're ready to stay there. We don't want to dodge people, swerve things, so we're just in it to get a world title shot or a world title and get a good payday and sail into the sunset. My lads want to stay there and be household names. So we're prepared to roll the dice, and I think that's showing with my fighters. They do become stable, good fighters and stay there when they get there.
Mentioned there about Junaid, and he does have sometimes a tendency. We've said he's very young in his career, but he does have a tendency sometimes to switch off and concentration. We see him running around the gym, and he is 100 mile an hour all the time. Is that kind of the main area of focus, as well as getting around? It's just concentrating him, making him stay focused, not have those little moments where he does switch off.
Yeah, that's Junaid. He's ADHD kid, so he does well to concentrate for the amount of time he does. You just can't hold him down and concentrate on one thing. You've got to know Junaid to work with Junaid. That's why a lot of people won't be able to work with Junaid. But I've had him since a baby, since a young lad, so I know what ticks him and how to play him and how to work him. And these little lacks of concentration were massive to start with. Now it's getting less. So you are going to get it, but we're working on it, and he's improving, and I'm proud of him for what he's doing, and he's realising it, and he's taking things on board, and he knows when he's doing it. So that's a good thing. It's not as if he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's ticking boxes all the time. So I'm well chuffed with lad.
And finally, from last night, Nico Leivars returned, got another win under his belt. Pleased with his performance?
Chuffed to bits with his performance. Just watched that back. I don't know how he dropped around, because I've just watched it back and I thought, how did ref get that other lad around? All right, I can see which round it possibly were, and it were a bit more competitive, but Nico landed more power shots that round and bossed it about a bit, went on back foot, but it is what it is. It's a point. He boxed well. Like you say, he did get it a bit, but look who he's in with again. He was in with a 4-0 kid, decent, who was a decent amateur himself. What type of coaches are going to take them and fighters and managers at that, on a big show like that against a decent kid? The kid didn't have a padded record, so I rolled the dice with Nico again. I think he's going to be mustard, Nico. He's learning all the time. He's seen the improvements himself, understanding what he's got to do and why he's got to do it, and he's reaping the rewards for it in the gym. But he's just had no luck. He's had no luck whatsoever. And famous old saying of mine, cream always rises to the top. Keep chugging away, tide will turn. Then once the tide turns, you're away with it, and you'll throw. And last night, I think he showed that. He showed his class. And I think he impressed Eddie and all the other people. So I've just spoke to him this morning. He's chuffed to bits. I'm chuffed to bits. So another good performance from Nico. So faultless night really last night. So other than the cuts, couldn't have gone no better.
One of the things I spoke to you about in the past is kind of having fighters at different stages of their career in the gym and the sort of the dynamic that creates in the gym. You've got Sonny Edwards, world champion. You've got, of course, Dalton, who's British and Commonwealth. And then you've got below that your Nico Leivars and Junaid Bostan. And I know you have other fighters of different levels in the gym. How important is it to have that kind of, the blend of, I know Sonny's not old by any stretch of the imagination, but the blend of, world titles and then the young whippersnappers to keep them, keep the more established fighters on their toes and the more established fighters to learn and inform the next generation?
It's like cooking a nice meal. All the ingredients have to go in and everything's got to be balanced. So you've got like your Lerrone Richards, for instance, Florian Markle. They're all different characters. But when somebody comes and I trial them and they trial me, it's not just got to work for the fighter, it's got to work for me. But the gym, the camaraderie, they've got to fit into all that. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. And I think, yeah, he'll fit. And they all work together. They're all totally different characters and ages, but he'll help him on something. And it's like a cooking pot, cooking all the time. And I love it, me. Do you know me, sometimes they'll do a session, certain days we do group sessions, and they all train together. And I do it, and camaraderie in here is unbelievable. And I'll sit behind that desk or there, and they'll not know I'm watching. And they've just finished the session or before the session. They're all sat down there. They're laughing, they're joking, they're taking piss out of each other. They're giving each other advice. They're arguing, having some banter. And I sit all there and I smile to myself and I think, this is what it's all about. They're all individuals. They're all on their own journey. They've all got to be selfish in their own ways, and I understand that. But look at this. It makes me proud. It makes me proud to sit back and think, we've put all this together. We've put all these men together, and look what they're doing. And I think that shows fight night. Wherever our fighters are fighting, they're all there for each other. Anything upsets one of the fighters, they're all in it. They're all backing each other. They all want each other to win. And a lot of the other gyms say it, but I know that's not true. These fighters sat there thinking, I don't want him to win. I don't want him to be better than me. Don't get that here. Everybody's rooting. They're all as nervous for each other, for the teammates' fights, than they are their own fights. And I know that because I can see it and how they speak to each other. And when our tense they are in changing rooms, and when like Sonny and Dalton working corners and their advice and while we're talking in between rounds, and I can see the love for each other in there for that.
Before we talk about Sonny Edwards, who's just announced a big fight, let's talk about Lerrone Richards, somebody who I'm a big fan of. I think a lot of kind of the hardcore I think are a big Lerrone Richards fan, but he's not had the best period of his career over the last 12 months or so. He's now working under your guidance here at Steel City. How good of a talent is he? You've now had him in the gym. You've had your keen eye on him for a while. You've worked with him. How good is Lerrone Richards?
People aren't seeing the best of Lerrone Richards. When he got in touch and he decided that he wanted to join the gym, I says, yeah. I said, I'm not going to make you, at your age, I'm not going to change you as a fighter. So don't think I'm going to change you. All I'm going to do, I'm going to try to make you better. And I think he's seen the rewards now. Sparring. It's totally different to fight night with them little gloves on and under them lights. But what he's been doing in sparring and in training, he's reaping the rewards now for what he's been working on. And they don't expect that from Lerrone Richards. But that kid is top notch. I says, add this to your game and these bits, extra stuff to your game. You were already a good fighter. It'll just make you an even better fighter. I says, but he's just not had the momentum to keep going. And he will fight anybody. He's not bothered. He will take them fights. But he's just not had the momentum to keep that rolling. But He were out of the month, put a brilliant performance in there. He just needs the momentum, and when he gets that ball rolling, people are going to see very good Lerrone Richards. When he's got that foot on the pedal with that momentum, he can keep the foot on the pedal now and cruise away.
So, Sonny Edwards, commentator, cornerman, manager, but also a fighter who has a big fight that's just been announced. Jesse Rodriguez, Bam Rodriguez. It's the fight I think that everybody has been looking for at flyweight. It's finally over the line. Of course, we're still waiting on a date and a location towards the end of this year. But that must be a fight for you as a trainer that really gets your juices going.
It does get my juices flowing. Sonny deserves these fights. Like you say, he'll fight anybody, like most of my fighters will. We don't avoid anybody. He wants the big fights, and he couldn't get the fights for no fault of his own. He's not pricing himself out. He never has done. They just won't get in ring with him. But he's got it now, and that does get my juices flowing now, because the rounds he's lost in his fights, he's not lost. He has on paper, but he hasn't. He's given them away because he wanted to give them away, to practice stuff, to show people he can do certain things. When he boxes Bam, it's going to be a different story. Different story. I think it won't be a shock to people because everybody knows. I'm not just saying this because he's my fighter. Sonny Edwards is the #1 flyweight in the world. He can go to light fly, he can go up to super fly, he can do bantam, and he'll take the big fights at any of those weights. I believe he's the best in the world. Best in the world. And Bam better not underestimate Sonny, because they're going to be in for a big shock if they underestimate him, because when we get down to business, we get down to business.
Now, I remember it was coming on a year ago now. I think it was October of last year or thereabouts, where I sat in that office over there, your office, very clean office, and sat down with Sonny, and we did an interview as if the Julio Cesar Martinez fight was done, because it was kind of there or thereabouts, and then all of a sudden went poof, and we never heard about it again. It seems to me, and from my conversations with Sonny, as well as kind of reading social media, that Sonny Edwards versus Julio Cesar Martinez was a fight where, you have the Charlie backstory, and you've got kind of the, Sonny's been very outspoken about, no drugs, no champions t-shirts and things like that. That was one that that had probably a little bit more spice to it, but this one is the daddy fight. This is Sonny Edwards versus Bam Rodriguez. The winner of this fight is pretty much the #1 in the division. How good of a fighter is Bam Rodriguez? How much more of a difficult and different fight is this than the Julio Cesar Martinez fight was?
Totally different fight. Very, no qualms. It's a tough fight. Some think Bam's the best in the world. Some think Sonny's best in the world. It's both of them are getting it on to prove who is the best. We're not taking it lightly. Like you said, we know it's a tough fight. He's a very good fighter, Bam. He's a very good all-round fighter. He doesn't just fight one way. He's a very good fighter. But I believe my man's Sonny is the best in the world, and he can adapt to situations. And I don't think Bam will be able to adapt as much as Sonny can. So, honestly, people want to see what's going to happen fight night with Sonny. So, but the Martinez fight, I think that should have happened first. But we just couldn't get him in. We couldn't get him in the ring. Couldn't get him in the ring. And if it doesn't happen after the Bam fight, I don't think that fight will ever happen, because we couldn't get him in the ring before the Bam fight. So we're not going to get him in the ring after that unless he wants a cash out. Do you know what I mean? So Sonny will probably have to find another dancing partner to call out.
And obviously, without divulging your secrets, Grant, what do you make of Bam as a fighter? What does he do well? I'm not going to bother asking you what he doesn't do well, because I know you won't tell me. But what do you like about him as a fighter? You mentioned about being an all-round fighter there. What do you like about him?
He's a good box fighter. He's got good feet. He's got good hands. He's got good movement. He's an all-round. That's why some think he's the best in the world. He can punch. He's a good all-round fighter. But I don't think he'll be able to adapt to certain situations that me and Sonny are going to bring to the table on fight night.
Is this the biggest challenge of your coaching career, do you think?
They're all challenges. They're all challenges. I don't see it as the biggest challenges because every challenge is a big challenge. When Charlie boxed Rosales, nobody gave Charlie a chance. But I knew what we were working on and I knew what we were doing in the gym. And I said to people, fight night, as we went to the venue, certain people, I says, I know Charlie's been fetched in here, I says, but you're all going to get shocked tonight. And I'm not one of the coaches who just says that and believes my fighters are unbeatable. I says, you watch what he's going to do tonight. And nobody give Charlie a chance. So I don't put fighters in fights if I don't think they can win the fight. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm not that type of guy. I'm a winner. I'm not in it to take part. I'm in it for my fighters to become household names and superstars and do what's best for their career. And if I don't think they're going to win a fight, I'm not just going to get them to take a paycheck. We're in it to win it. And I think that were a big challenge. So, challenge-wise, I take them all as a big challenge. So, I can't say one stands out more than another.
Final one on Sonny. I've kind of spoke to you about this in the past. Taking him right the way through the amateurs, taking him to a world title. Now you're in a massive fight. I mean, this is as big a fight in the flyweight division as I can remember in recent years. Kind of the big fights have sort of happened more recently at super flyweight. But what would it mean to you to be able to take him through all of that period of time? Of course, Dalton's your son, Dalton's your boy. But you've been on this journey with Sonny right the way through. Not topping it off, of course, because he's still young and there'll still be things that he wants to achieve after that. But bringing him right through to such a big fight like this must mean a lot to you.
Me and Sonny's got a special bond. Very special bond. We know our each other tick. I've got a special bond with most of my fighters, but yeah, me and Sonny, we do it. And every time he wins, I tell him how proud. He knows how proud I am of him. And I tell him. And I think he's proud of me as well for where we've come. We've come through this together. We've stuck it in and out and we've come through. And there's a lot more to come from Sonny Edwards. And I'm just so happy that I said to all my I want him to come out financially secure. Got out of boxing what he wants. And said, Grant's never given me no bad advice. He's never screwed me all. And he's always been there no matter what. Rain, shine. I'll stand by Sonny no matter what. I'll stand in trenches with Sonny. Do you know what I mean? And I've got a special place in my heart for Sonny. And he'll be in my life forever, Sonny.
What is it about him, Grant, that makes that special bond between you and him?
I don't know. We've just grown close together from him moving up here when he was younger. And I don't know. It's just a special bond we've got. I think he's seen what I was prepared to put into his life. And then he's given me that back. And he wears his heart on his sleeve, Sonny. And I think he realises he's found somebody that will go that extra mile for him. And I'm not in it for certain reasons, for financial gain or anything. I'm in it because I care about him and I want what's best for him.
Okay, well, Grant, I appreciate your time the day after the fight. Thanks for coming into the gym. Now, before I let you go, I'm going to do something that I don't ever do in your interviews. I'm going to ask you about a fight that's got nothing to do with you. It is a big fight coming up at the end of July. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. I am canvassing opinions of experts, but because none are here, I'm going to ask you. Errol Spence versus Terence Crawford. Who wins and why?
Tough fight. I think it'll be cagey to start with. I think Spence may be edging it after about 5 or 6. But I think Crawford comes into it and runs away down the line and wins on a split decision.
Very specific. I like it. I like those types of predictions. Broke it right the way down. Okay, Grant, thanks very much for having us. And as always, it's always a pleasure to get my one interview a year. So I think, will you make an allowance for 2? Can we do one for Sonny Edwards versus Bam Rodriguez, please?
Yeah, I'll give you one day after when he's won.
There we go. You heard it here first. We've got it on camera now, so we've got the evidence. Grant Smith, always a pleasure. Thanks very much for speaking to Boxing News, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you. Thank you for coming over.